What's up, music lovers? Thanks for clicking on my channel, and welcome to a series that I call Artists That Deserve More Love, where we take a moment to look at bands and musicians that just don't get as much attention as they deserve. Now, these can be bands with careers lasting decades, or they can be musicians with 20 followers on Spotify. Whatever the case is, if you haven't heard about these bands, you're definitely missing out. And I'm really excited for this episode because I've been listening to a lot of Lateralis lately, and that got me thinking about other progressive metal bands. So I have 3 bands that are all just insanely talented, and if you are a fan of Tool, you'll probably really like them too. And with all that out of the way, let's just start talking about some amazing progressive metal bands. Okay, and coming up first, we have a progressive metal band from Sweden called Soen. Formed in 2004 with their debut album coming out in 2012, Soen is kind of a supergroup, as big of a supergroup as you can get with progressive metal that isn't Sons of Apollo, I guess. Martin Lopez, a longtime drummer with Opeth, and he's also played with Amon Amarth, formed this band, and on their first album they also have Steve DiGiorio on bass. If that name sounds kind of familiar to you, it's because he's played bass with about 100,000 bands. He's also played bass on Individual Thought Patterns by Death, which is one of my favorite Death albums. Now, Soen is a pretty melodic, even almost mellow at times band that still has heavy riffs, but instead of having tons of lead guitar sections, focuses more on having intricate bass and drum parts and having odd time signatures. And if that description kind of sounds familiar to you, it's because, yes, they have been described as a band that sounds a lot like Tool. It wouldn't be fair to just write off Soen as a Tool clone, though, because they do have their own unique style. They all have their unique voice. I love the singer for this band, and they do a good job of also, feel like, taking the bits and pieces that work from their influences and making their songwriting a bit more concise. Like I said before, I absolutely love the vocals for this band. Joel Eckerhoff, I apologize if I butchered that last name, is a singer, and he has such a smooth and soulful voice. He really is one of the highlights for this band. At the time of filming this video, Soen only has 6 albums out, so if you're trying to get into them, I would say just start with their first one and go through the entire discography. Some of my personal favorite songs throughout their career are Canvas, Purpose, Tabula Rasa, Lucidity, and Dissident. Okay, and so for the next band, we move from Sweden to their neighbor Norway, but we're not talking about some obscure black metal band that's off burning a church in the middle of the woods. We're talking about progressive metal band Circus Maximus. If Soen is similar to Tool in their approach to progressive metal, then Circus Maximus is sort of following the Dream Theater approach. Circus Maximus takes a more technical and flashy approach to songwriting with lots of solos and sort of an influence of power metal bands like Sonata Arctica, just a little bit, not overbearing, but on their first album or two you can definitely hear that influence. Circus Maximus also does a great job of writing songs that can make progressive metal a bit more appealing to people who have never heard it before, but also being true enough to the subgenre that it wouldn't alienate die-hard prog metal purists. As of right now, Circus Maximus has 4 albums out, and they're all good, but I'll tell you just straight up, their album 9 is an absolute masterpiece. If you're going to start listening to them, that's the album I suggest to get into them. I think it is by far their best, and it's also where they really come into their own and have their most unique sound. Their first 2 albums are also really solid and I really enjoy them, but you can definitely hear the Dream Theater and the Fates Warning and the more traditional kind of more power metal influence. With 9, they kind of take all those influences and mesh it into something that feels completely unique and original to them. Yeah, this album is an absolute masterpiece, and if you're going to check out some songs from it, my personal favorites are Architect of Fortune, Namaste, Used, and The One. In addition to 9, a couple other great songs from some of their other albums are A Darkened Mind and Why Am I Here? Okay, and last but certainly not least, we have my personal favorite band out of these 3, and that is Carnival. Carnival with a K and VOOL, because misspelling things is fucking metal. Carnival is a progressive metal band from Australia that, at the time of me filming this, has only released 3 studio albums, but my god, are these 3 albums some of the best progressive metal you will ever hear. Their debut album, Themata, was released in 2005 and is without a doubt one of the best debut albums I've ever heard. The production is so clear, all the songs are perfect, and Carnival really did a good job of blending all their influences into something that was wholly unique on their first album, which even a lot of the best bands of all time don't manage to do. There's influences from Tool, the Deftones, little bits and pieces of new metal here and there, but honestly, I think with their first album, Carnival really just took the best pieces of all their influences and meshed it into something that was way better than what had come before it. Songs like Lifelike, Mauseum, and Themata are all just examples of songs that are just kind of hard to believe that this is on a band's debut album. And they completely reinvented their style with their second album, Sound Awake, which even though I might like the debut better, it's not an easy choice because this is once again just another incredible album from start to finish. Songs like Goliath, All I Know, and New Day are some of my favorite songs from that album. And their latest album, Asymmetry, is another masterpiece, with my favorite song from that being Sky Machine. I mean, it's just hard to put into words how good that song is. So there you go, 3 progressive metal bands that if you want to check out amazing music, I suggest you go listen to. And if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, all of that YouTube stuff, and let me know what you think of these bands in the comments below. I also have an instrumental song out called Waking Giant, which I linked below if you want to go check that out. There's probably another video popping up around here somewhere if you want to go check that out, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you at the next video.